I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Oliver.
Welcome to the Superhuman Show, yeah?
Welcome to the Superhuman Show. I'm your host, Ben Oliver, joined with Dr. Taylor Waters, Ryan Stevens, and Sully Mandingo. Good to
Esquire.
So today we're going to talk about the need for an individualized program when it comes to nutrition and training. And this is a good one because I think it's like what you would say, Ryan, and what Trevor, you say, it's 99% right and 100% wrong. So it's, yes, people do need an individualized approach, but not for the reasons that they think.
Yeah.
So if we first talk about the reasons why people think they need an individualized program, which aren't necessarily true, and then we can go into how we actually tweak someone's program individually versus what people think you should do. So like one of the most common ones is, that's, you could go down the rabbit hole of the crazies, but like blood type. You know, I need a certain diet because of my blood type or certain foods.
Body type.
Body type.
Body type.
I'd say body type is probably one of the most common ones. Who is it? Is it V Shred or something promotes that?
Yeah, so it was like, because this is like old school textbook sport education.
Mesomorph.
Yeah, it's like somatotypes, and so you have your ectomorph, your mesomorph, your endomorph, and I think there's a very, very small genetic component to that, like because people's metabolisms do vary. But I also look at it as the telltale signs. If I wanted to choose if someone is a meso, ecto, endo, is if they stopped training, what would happen to them? And so endos, they gain weight when they stop paying attention to their diet and training. Ectos lose their muscle, they go skinny. Mesos tend to hold on to their mass quite well, and they pick up where they left off. And so it's normally down to behavior rather than genetics. It's like endomorphs eat their feelings. Ectomorphs eat like a bird, and they have to remind themselves to eat. Mesomorphs just are lucky and sit in the middle.
There's almost like a structure element to it, like the way people carry tissue as well. Like some people, like the common endo is like they're very hip heavy and they sort of got that pear look to them where they naturally don't hold much muscle mass, and then their fat mass just like piles around that
feminine physique.
that sort of midsection.
I think
basically it's a disaster.
I think because obviously people who say like, oh, they'll personalize their nutrition based on their body type. It's like, I don't remember what like V Shred actually says, but like, I don't know if they're an endomorph, then they need to eat low carb, high fat, or whatever it may be. I think that's the route he goes down. And they, with regards to that, you're missing the fundamentals, like what actually really matters, regardless of like your body type.
Yeah, because I mean, I've had clients, not too long ago, where they'll say something like, my body doesn't respond well to carbs.
Yeah.
My body responds really well to HIIT training. And every time when someone tells me these things, I'm first looking at their body composition. And so it's like, well, if by respond well, do you mean be 250 pounds soft? Then yes, you are a hyper responder to what you're telling me right now.
Training,
but normally, like whatever they're telling you as like how their body responds, they're typically wrong.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like a typical thing a client will say to me as well, it's like, oh, I know what works for me. And in my head, I'm thinking, if you did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't be in the program. You wouldn't be asking me to like coach you because you would essentially know what works for you. But clearly you don't. And I think we've spoken about this on a different podcast where it's like, you have to be coachable when you come in. You have to be the student and leave your ego at the door.
I think it's when they say this works for me, part of me is like, or do you just like it? Like you're basically telling me what you like, or you follow someone and you look up to them somewhat, and that's what they've said. So you've just brought that on and just adapted it and said, this is what works for me. When it all works for everyone from a physiological standpoint. However, from a behavioral standpoint, that's when the person is. And I think there's a literature review out there that it always sticks in my mind, and it's I think it's on weight management, and the line is something along the lines of, there's universal things like energy balance, things like this, but then what makes the difference is how you adapt that to the needs of the unique individual. And that's where the individualized part of it comes from. It's taking the foundations and then molding them so they can be applied by the individual, given their preferences, given their social environment, given their physical environment, given their family life, their work life, and all this thing.
And I think as well, when you tailor that into like the individual, because like I'll have some clients who say, oh, well, fasting worked for me. I lost 20 pounds. Like, yeah, but you've gained it back.
Yeah. So it works short term, but it's not sustainable for you.
Yeah. Because again, an individualized plan, that individualized plan still has to change. And that's why we have the weekly check-ins depending on what happens in your life, So I think when you look at it like that, these people will think, okay, yeah, this works for me, but it worked for you in that specific moment in time, but now things may have changed. I think we've spoken about that before, where it's like, okay, like even my plan from before I had kids to now I've got kids is totally different.
Yeah.
I
think like when, obviously people sell programs as individualized programs, but to make an individualized program based off of one conversation or a questionnaire to give a client, to me, is complete bollocks.
Yeah.
Because you've got such, even if you did an extensive questionnaire, you've got such a small amount of information, and most people are full of shit as well. So what they write on their questionnaire isn't their actions or behaviors anyway. And so it's always a bit of a red flag to me when coaches will have like really extensive onboarding processes. Like, we're going to test your blood sugar and all of these things, and you're going to wear this thing, you're going to track your resting heart rate and all of this stuff. And then they say, now we're going to put together your personalized program. And they're just looking at numbers, and they probably got a chart or something of like, they should do this. But then you have the client just go, I don't like it. And it's like, well, that was a fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
And so like, even when you look at things which we could look at and go, like that's useful data to make an adjustment, it's completely irrelevant if the person isn't going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, this person, let's say, would respond really well to a lower carb, higher fat diet, and they go, yeah, but I fucking hate fats and I really like carbs. Cool, right, unsustainable.
Yeah.
Different approach.
Yeah.
I think that's why you say as well, is that best starting plan, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and we'll adjust from there.
100%.
Yeah.
And
it's got way too overcomplicated.
Yeah.
Everyone now, social media plays its part. All these different diet fads, all different coaches, all giving their 2 pennies worth to get their money in through the door.
And speaking in absolutes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
This is it.
And extremes.
Yeah.
When extremes don't work for people, or very, very, very rarely.
Yeah.
It's like everything's overcomplicated, like you said, on your form, on everything. It's like when you get someone in that goes, this is how I like to do it. You've got to be coachable. You've got to understand. And then it's always that, like, give it 2 to 3 weeks. That's your kind of period where you're getting more information about that person and understanding what is going to start working for them. And that's where it gets more tailored. It's like at the beginning, it's go general. Then move specific to what works for them and preferences, and you understand.
I think one of the, like, with all these fancy onboarding processes, like taking your blood sugar, we're going to do this, is one, obviously, simple doesn't sell, extreme does. And two, the coaches are trying to make themselves look smart rather than actually doing what the best is for the client.
It sells.
Imagine if we had like on paper, right, I'm going to test your blood sugar, your heart rate, your HRV, and then I'm going to give you an individualized plan. And then we come along, I'm just going to see what you're doing. We're going to adjust accordingly. Like, which one's going to sell?
What's
Which
your
one's going
name?
to look smarter?
And send me a photo in your pants. And then I'm going to tailor the program to suit.
But it's like £300.
Yeah.
And this is what I eat.
Yeah.
But I like doing HIIT 5 times a week. And then you come along and go, just cut out all the fatty soda and sugary soda for the first for the first couple of weeks, and you'll do all right. It's like, I haven't paid you to tell me that. It's like, you have, because that's going to work.
It's so true though, because when I onboard clients, I literally say to them, I'm going to get you set up with a basic template next week, and I'll say to them, just full transparency, it's like, this is a very generic template because I want to see how you respond to it. Like, one, I want to see if you can follow instructions and listen to what I recommend you do. Two, I want to see how you respond to the training, how strong you are, if you can recover from the amount of volume that we've got set, if you can follow your calories for the week, or protein and calories, however you want to set it. And then I'm going to tweak it from there and go, cool, you like breeze through those workouts, so I'm going to add some sets. Or like from your feedback, you don't really like the upper lower splits, you prefer like a push legs pull. Cool, we can switch that volume to a 5-day split or something. But I'm always going to start someone off with, like you said, it's like, I'm going to throw shit and see what sticks and see what falls.
Yeah.
And then we're going to work with that.
You're still aiming with the shit. Like,
Totally.
you're not just mindlessly aiming shit. You're still targeting it somewhat, but it's like, how much information can you get from a conversation? Especially with someone who's new, because the only information that they can provide you with is subjective and conscious. So there's a lot of things that we do, which is almost like it's subconscious, isn't it? We just behave the way we behave, and we don't know really what we do. We don't know why we do it. So I can't withdraw that information from them. So all I can get is, how much you weigh, how tall you are, what you enjoy, general ideas about your lifestyle. If you're tracking steps, I can get a little bit of an insight there. I can see a photo of you, so I can see your body composition. I can see what training experience you've had. So I can tailor a program somewhat to what you've given me and what I predict over years of experience working. I almost got you've got all these groups of people and you collect that information that targets you. Okay, this program may suit this person. So then you give it to them. You see how they execute it over time. And that's why often when I do my first call with someone after their first week on the program, I don't really care how much they've progressed. I don't really care. I'm like, right, are they communicating well? Are they doing what I've asked them to do? Are they, thinking about the things that they haven't done? Like, are they starting to consciously think about the mistakes that they're making and how they can improve? That's what I'm actually looking for, because now we can start really building this program around them. Without that stuff, you can't. You're just going to keep trying to do this same old program that is never going to be tailored because we're not getting any information from you.
Yeah. Go on.
Go on. No, you can go.
It's like on a call, there's only so much, and it's not saying people lie.
No,
but people can bend truth.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because it's
exactly
as you've said is when you jump on and go, this is what works for me. It's like, well, you wouldn't be here if it was working. So it's like, this is what I like to do, and this is how I do. It's like, oh yeah, I work out 5 times a week. I eat a salad for lunch, and I eat healthy. All right, you've told me that, but what's going to actually show me what you do is the evidence and data you start pulling through in the first couple of weeks. Because when you see that adherence, and then you go, all right, maybe we really do need to dive into far more personalized stuff because there's something going on. Or generally, if you're adhering to shit, your communication is shit, and you're pulling through like way over like the top on numbers and under eating and this and that. It's like, well, here's our problems where we'll go a bit more generic for a while and get you in line.
And you have to think, why would someone lie?
Yeah.
Because they're like, wait, I'm not a liar. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. But when you're talking to someone like a fitness professional and that's not an area that you're strong, it's almost like, again, there's an element of ego there when you don't want to admit straight away how off the mark you are. So it's like, you're not lying. You might hide a couple of things. You might, again, bend the truth a little bit, because you don't want to embarrass yourself, which we don't care. We've seen everything from top to bottom. But it's like, but from on their side, it's like they're not lying out of like I'm going to hide something. But it's just like it's difficult to admit sometimes. It's difficult to face that, and also sometimes they don't know.
Sometimes they don't know because of misinformation or what they think or perceived from 20 years of what they've been doing is healthy.
Yeah, when they say I eat healthy, it's like, well, your perception of healthy, you obviously satisfy that perception, but whether it's actually healthy or not, who the fuck knows?
It's pretty rare that you have someone come in and just be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's like, because we were just talking about taxes and accountants. It's like when I first started working with my accountant, I was literally like, break this down for me like I am a monkey. Yeah. And he's like, you make 10 bananas each year. You spend 7. But I'm like, And it's like, then this greedy monkey comes and takes 2. And I'm like, makes sense.
Tax man.
But like, yeah. But like,
so we avoid the greedy monkey and we try and run around.
We hide our bananas.
You're going to put this banana in a car. This banana is dividend.
Do you have other monkeys that you can offload bananas to?
But it's like, I think for some reason with nutrition and training, it's like people don't want to admit they don't know what they're doing because they've, like, so like with the accounting, for example, I've never done it. Like I have money, but like prior to that, I hadn't looked at my ingoings, outgoings, that kind of thing. Everyone eats. And most people do some kind of exercise. So like, I've been doing it for 20 years. It's like, but you haven't though. It's just been in your life. Like you really got no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really tough pill to swallow when it's like, I've been trying to do this thing for 20 years and I've got, if anything, I've gone backwards.
Yeah.
And it's like getting a business mentor and you're like, I've just lost money for 20 years. Like, what do I do? Whereas normally you'd be like, oh, well, I've done this, I've done that. And then they're looking at you being like, you got like, you're negative in your bank account. You don't know what you're doing. But I think you just have to swallow that pill first and then it gets much easier.
Yeah.
Go on.
I think when you become aware of those things like that are making you bankrupt or whatever, sometimes it can be a hard pill to swallow as well. Because like, you know, we've said before, you'll use almost food and training as a way to gain the client's trust, because when shit hits the fan, when adversity comes up, you truly see how someone responds in that moment. 100%. And it's like, your results aren't happening because every Friday you've had a very stressful week and then you pound 20 beers. I was like, that's the reason why you're not making progress. Let's talk about what we can do there. You know, and sometimes that's a bitter pill to swallow.
Put someone in a stressful situation and it will reveal you who they are.
Yeah.
And it's like people can say whatever they want on onboarding calls or anything, like, or even just like, you know, what are your values, whatever. You put someone in a threatening or stressed position, all those values suddenly go to shit. And
then
autopilot kicks in.
Totally.
You truly see what is holding someone back when they're faced with adversity. And that's when it's like, that's when the real coaching comes in. So it starts like throwing shit at the wall, see what sticks. Then when that stuff happens, now the real work begins. You know, so
That's what I love about what we do is, you know, in the first month, there's a very heavy contact in that first month.
Yeah.
And that's not because we just like love talking to people as much as I do. But we're just gathering in information, and some of the conversations we have are quite like general conversations just about their life and then seeing how we bounce. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm starting to develop an understanding of this person as a unique individual. And now by collecting that data, now I can start refining things a little bit more. So at the front end of a coaching program, like the communication is real heavy because we're trying to collect as much data as we can within a short period of time, so we can keep morphing that program to that person. And then we give it a few weeks then, and we've got it a lot more nailed than we did in that first conversation. But then over the course of a year, 2 years, as you said, context change, situations change, the environment changes. So you need this constant contact to really continue to mold as needed. So the program is consistently built around them, isn't it? Yeah. Like they're going to change all the time. So you need to continue to morph things to make sure that they're getting the best progress, regardless of how their life changes over time.
Yeah,
I've got a few clients now, like currently, and it's like I've not made changes for weeks, right? Because their nutrition's in a good spot, their training's in a good spot. They've got into that, like if they get over that initial like 4 or 5 weeks, and you settle in, and then you start seeing them changes because they're in the rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, now you just need to trust the plan.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing week on week.
Yeah.
We will make changes when we need to make changes, not for change's sake, to keep you happy, to go, oh, my coach changed this week.
Yeah.
Don't need to do that. Yeah. Progress your lifts and your workouts that you've got for that sort of period. If your nutrition's bringing you down in line and your expenditure is there, it's very much jump on a call and just be like, just keep doing what you're doing. It's not because I'm not interested, or like the coaching is, we don't need to do anything. Everything's going right. And then people are like, oh, is that all? It's like, it's good coaching. Just keep it going.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. If your coach doesn't have to do very much, that means you're doing.
It means you're doing really well,
but you're doing a good job. If you weren't doing a good job, they'd be telling you to potentially change this and look at this and look at that.
Yeah.
But if they're saying very little or they're changing very little, you're normally all right because they're happy with the way things are going.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you're just doing the boring work and it ends up boring is beautiful.
Yeah. Totally. That's where all the results come from.
Yeah.
Then I think the other component, so you've got individualizing someone's nutrition based on their, and again, all of this stuff is individualized based on habits, behaviors, and preferences. It's nothing to do with body type, genetics, anything like that.
Behavioral. It's all behavioral stuff.
If someone has an underlying clinical condition, that's like, we're not talking about that. No. If someone has IBD, celiac, something, it's like, yes, they're going to have a different diet, but we're talking about gen pop, that are otherwise healthy. But then the other component, which people don't really look at, is they need individualized coaching, in that they need the right person to talk to them the right way for it to sink in and them to actually do it. So even if you say, cool, we've built this program based on your preferences, habits, behaviors, we've got your training down to the things that we need to do, but also the stuff that you like to do. But then if you have the wrong person explaining that, they still don't fucking do it. And then you put the right person and they do the exact same thing and they follow it to a T. And so there's like a whole other component to it is, do you personally get on with the coach that's explaining it to you, and are they talking to you in a way that you like are receptive to? And that's where like the real coaching skills, like soft skills, come in. I was talking to John about this, where like you have to be a bit of a chameleon as a coach, because you're going to have some clients where you speak a little bit softer to. You have some clients where you put the education hat on and they like the science and the logic to it. You've got other guys that need, you know, just like, you know, get your head out your ass, like, and they need the motivation. And then also those same people, sometimes you have to switch hats, and it's like based on just something that they write in their check-in form or how they turn up on a call, you immediately change your tone or like body language, whatever, to mimic what they're going through. And I think like a lot of poor, like, I think some coaches would just be like, well, I am who I am. Like, I'll attract the people that want to work with my personality and repel the ones that don't. And I get that. Like, people will have their niche. But I think like the signs of a really good coach is that they can work with anyone and show, because I used to think that it was almost like being fake, but it's not. It's, you're just showing a different side of your personality that's already there. And so it's like, you've all got an empathetic side, a kind of drill sergeant side, and sometimes you just show more than the other based on what that client needs. But like that, I would say, is more important than even the program.
Oh, 100%.
Because I could get someone to follow a dog shit program and still get really good results if I can get them to put enough effort into it and they believe what I'm telling them. But I could give someone the best program ever. But if I'm like, cool, you're going to do 3 sets of 5 and then you're just going to eat this and go for it. Like, they're going to be like, I'm not hyped for this. Whereas if I'm like, you're going to have 50 apples today, like we're going to apple load. They're like, fuck yeah, apples. Like fucking
50 apples a day and 10 shits tomorrow.
They're like, let's go.
Welcome to Ben's fruit analogies. That I think is the number one reason why people do well on plans is good coach and client relationship.
Coaching skills.
And the number one most important thing about making a coach good is that is the variety and diversity of who they can deal with as a client. And allowing them, like you said, sometimes it's a hand on the shoulder, like around the back, to just be like, come on, you've got this. Let's eliminate that. Sometimes it's fucking get on with it. Like, you're just giving me shit. And you know the clients you can say that to. And you get that response back of, I needed that. Cheers, mate. And it's like, whatever that's what makes successful coaches is that approach, the adaptability. So like when we talk about clients being coachable, it's also what makes a good coach a good coach is that like coachability aspect where they are open to different types of clients.
They can adapt to the client, can't they? They know what the client is receptive to, and they can adapt to that. Like, even just thinking just now off the top of my head, I've got some clients where I'll just say, just fucking do this. That's the answer. Whereas if I said that to another client that I'm thinking of, they would, in their head, they'd be thinking, oh, I'm just another number to him. I'm not really, you know? Whereas like with that other client, it'd be like, okay, well, what do you think you could do here? And like engage in a conversation. You'll come to the same answer. It's just the way you deliver it is totally different. You know what I mean?
Like I've got, I think I mentioned in a previous podcast, I got an awesome client from New York. And if I said to him, like if he had a week where he was kind of just falling off track, and if I said to him like, okay, like let's make a list of, you know, all the things that went well and, you know, the things that we need to work on and what you're struggling with and why you don't want to get the results, he'd be like, who the fuck are you?
You patronizing.
Whereas if I literally say to him and I'd look at him and I go, dog shit week, huh? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, fucking get on with it. And he's like, you're right. That's what he needs. Like he would not like, and then I got other clients, if I said that to you, they'd quit. Like, and they need like, cool, we need to do a deep dive into, you know, why we're struggling right now. And it's so varied, but you, like your toolbox at this point is so fucking big of like the different things that you can pull out based on the personality type that you're dealing with. Like I would take that skill set over like, and it, just as an FYI for anyone, like when we look at bringing on coaches, I look at those traits, like is this person good at communicating? Have I built good rapport with them in the last 10 minutes of just talking to them? Like, do I feel comfortable? Like, you know, if they cracked a joke, you know, do I feel like we're getting on? As opposed to what's their nutrition knowledge like? Because you can teach that. Like you can teach those skills because they're not absolutes, but like the fundamentals are the fundamentals. Whereas you can't, like those soft skills are so much harder to teach. Like you can't teach someone to give a shit.
Some people really struggle to develop them, and that's why it's like, because the theory side of what we do, it's not overly complex either. Like you can understand the game is not about macros or proteins and calories and then training and progressive overload. It's getting the most out of people.
Yeah.
That's where the skill comes, because
That's the skill.
you can read that stuff really easy. Someone can go online and learn about, they can take one book and they can learn all the theoretical side they need to do it. But it's, how do I get this person to do this over time? And because that's what leads to results. And that's where the skill of a coach comes in.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it comes back when I have coaches come to me and they're like, oh, what shall I do? Like, you know, obviously I've been doing this quite a long time now, and they'll say, oh, how can I do, you know, get this business like this? Or how can I get more clients like this? I'm like, do it for longer.
Yeah.
And really think about what you do. Like I've been coaching such a long time, and I'll finish a feedback sometimes and I'll sit there and I'm like, is that going to get the response that I want from this person? Am I, or have I just done that and thought like, you know, this is, I've treated them in a way that I maybe treated the last person, and I've just carried over the same approach to the next person. And I'll still sit there and if they're still not engaging, they're still not getting the results, I think about like the way that I'm talking to them. Do I need to take a different approach, or do I need to just hammer this approach home even more? And it's constantly going over this battle. And sometimes it's really tough to figure out. But if you use the same approach with everyone, then you're only going to get limited success with a certain group of people.
Yeah.
And then with the nutrition and training, I think a lot of time, and because we experience this at university, where people's knowledge versus where they are in their own journey is massively polarizing. So like you could have a master's degree in strength and conditioning and know about periodization, you know, like contrast training, all these fancy gimmicks, but you're actually in your second year of weight training. Yeah. And so then you try and dump all of this fancy shit onto this mold of clay that hasn't even got a base yet. Yeah. And it's like, you need to just go do Ripto's 5x5 for the next 3 years and get some strength and then progress. And it's the same with nutrition, because you're bombarded on social media with all these fancy carnivore guy and don't eat these foods and this thing's toxic and this is how you should set up your macros and all of this stuff. And it's like, you just need to practice following a plan. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter what the plan is. Like, just try and do something that's the same for a week. Like, and then just start to plug and play and adjust things. But I think it's like overwhelming paralysis by analysis at the moment. And then people think because of all that information, they need to use all of it. And then they almost are just like, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. We spoke about this in a previous podcast, but you get that a lot where, like, just because you've read about something fancy doesn't mean that you are fancy. Yeah. No. You know, it's like, I can read about Gucci, but I ain't Gucci.
Right. You often see those people, and when they start coaching, you'd see it in a gym now, not online. And they've got, like, you know, Graham, the investment banker who wants to drop 30 pounds and build some muscle, and he's doing like
single arm lat pull downs.
Oh no, like power cleans. Yeah. Like, what is he doing them for? And his tech is all over the place, and I'm like, what? But it's like, because they've read about like the benefits of a power clean to athletic performance, and they're like, oh well, that looks really snazzy, so I'll give it to Graham. To Graham. Mate, Graham's back's fucked. Like, what's he doing? Mate, he doesn't need to be powerful when he's just like crunching numbers at work. Yeah. He wants a big chest and a big set of arms. Like,
it's really common when people like go on their own kind of like fitness journey, get in shape, or they've been coached by the really strict bodybuilding coach. Yeah. They've got in shape. It was their first ever prep, and then they've gone, oh, people earn money from this, and I like this. I'm in a gym every day. I'm going to start coaching. Yeah. And it's like, it gets back into them scenarios of like, just because you've done it once, or you've done one diet, or you've trained for 6 months, doesn't mean you're going to be very good at dealing with Graham.
And you've got one way. Like,
that's all you know about. If you spend 2-3 years training in a certain way, switch it up, then you certain way, then you diet down. And just explore those aspects. and you've got so much varied knowledge in different things, is when you
have like the PT client. It's like, oh, I'm the functional guy. It's like, cool. Well, I want to be non-functional. Can you even help me?
Yeah.
I want to be jacked.
Yeah. The next thing you know, Graham's doing pose in practice. He's working on his side shot.
Yeah.
Graham, you got work in 10 minutes. Pull your pants up.
Just slapping his quads. But
Graham's giving up that $1 billion hedge fund because he's stepping on stage in a pair of trunks. he's Apple loaded on Friday for his show.
Keep it tight, Graham. Keep it tight.
Just sat on his desk doing his finances with his fucking laptop. But
cracking his fucking vacuums in lunch.
That's like one of the most common things though with trainers, where they're like, you'll know what they've read that week because suddenly all of their clients are doing
they're excited to share
box
it.
jumps and depth jumps, and it's like because they just read a plyometric article.
They're excited to share it. Look how knowledgeable I am.
Yeah.
Like if I go into a gym now, I'll know a good PT is. He'll be doing, if we take like the average person who's going to come in and want PT, they'll be doing basic stuff, machine work, goblet squats. You go in and see someone doing like power cleans or high raises or whatever, high pulls.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that bloke isn't. Like for Graham.
Yeah, he ain't got a clue.
The thing that drives me crazy the most, I know we're going off on tangents now, but like with personal trainers, and because I saw it in Scottsdale as well when I was there, because like when you've worked in a gym, you can't help but like you just have a bit of a nosy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what are the coaching cues that they're using and stuff, and they're just rep counters, and it's like, you know, someone's doing like a bicep curl, and it's almost like the trainer's like, well, it's only a bicep curl, like I'll just, you know, let's do 10. Whereas like if I'm coaching a bicep curl, I'm like, that's shit, like pull your elbow back, like, and I might stand behind them and put my hands there and be like, drive into my hand. Like,
that's his game, man.
and it's
That's
like,
his
there you
game.
go.
Stand behind him.
Directly behind.
Drive into me.
Yeah, you've always been like that.
But like,
Lucky when in Texas.
I would always, but like, because I know you do the same, right? Like I've seen you coach in the gym, and you'll be like, fuck, what rep are we on? Because you're looking at like coaching them through the movement, like rather than just like even like a chest press. I see someone's elbows like up, and then like the PT's like good. And I'm like,
harder,
what, for a shoulder
more,
impingement?
2 more, 3 more, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I've seen some texting on their phone when they're doing a set.
hands in pockets,
That's
like
bonkers,
shit like
isn't
that.
it?
It drives me crazy.
So one of the most important things I learned, and I know you said this is Ben, is that when I was working on the gym floor, PTing clients, the most important part is the rest time when you're engaging in conversation.
Yeah.
That's when I quickly learned. It's like what you do in the moment, like you're coaching them, that's important, but like how you build the rapport after in those rest times means everything.
And it's like, and again, that's all the individual. Like the more time you spend with someone, you're just collecting more data, and it's like it's an opportunity for them to obviously display some information to you, but it's an opportunity for you to drag more information from them, and that's why like just being able to know when to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
That you start seeing something, and then you pick up on, again, saying that you've gone 4 weeks and you're seeing a consistent trend in what someone is doing. That then triggers you to ask a certain question. That question opens up a massive can of worms. And now you're like, okay, now we're really starting to personalize this program because we've identified, and they didn't even know that was a problem until you asked that question, but you needed the data in order to ask that question, and then you can start really tailoring things properly. But until you got there, and that's why it can sometimes take time. Like I remember working with a female, and we went like, I think 5 months. Yeah, I know. And I really struggle talking to women, so it was a great success for me. We went like 5 months making no progress at all. And then suddenly then we had a conversation, and I don't know, something clicked. So next thing you know, like £2. I was like, oh, here we go. The next 5 months then, she made phenomenal progress and everything was going. It was like, we just needed to, like, although we weren't having successful weeks, we were one step closer to making it click. One step closer to making it click. And then eventually we got there. And if she had bailed at 2 months, which is, you know, if you've gone 2 months and you've made no progress, it's the exit door is open and you're ready to go. But she chose to stay on course. And then she chose to stay on course. 4 months in, it clicks. And then, like, again, she was in phenomenal shape by the end. And it's like, okay, well, now it's sometimes when you're not making physical progress, it's still progress because you're moving in the right direction to getting this figured out. And when eventually you get it figured out, that's when the physical progress really snowballs.
Such an important factor is time. like John talks about it, 1, 2 years, 3 years to become an expert and stuff like that. It's like not everybody is going to jump in and in the first 5, 6, 8 weeks get 20 pounds shifted off the scale.
Yes.
Or get that transformation that they're looking for in their head in 16 weeks. Like it just takes a different amount of time for different people. And again, that's personalized. It's personal to them how that adherence, work-life balance, like family, structure, training, adherence, all is. So what may take you 10 weeks to get in shape takes someone 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fine because where you're on that journey, just improving you week on week. It may not be on the scale, but if you're still eating and training, your body composition is still changing. A lot of guys like forget that those habits are changing and those things are changing in that time as well, getting them closer. And it's like, 16 weeks, I don't know if I'm going to renew. It's like, no, you really should. And that's not a sales pitch. It's like, because you're doing better than when you were 16 weeks ago.
Yeah. You're still learning about the shit that you're not good at. So it's like you've spent 16 weeks figuring out all this nonsense that you're rubbish at. You've ironed all those out. And now you're ready to see physical progress. And then it's like, but I've made no progress in 16 weeks, so I'm out. And it's like, well, now you're going to go backwards.
You've actually made a hell of a lot of progress in that 16 weeks because like when we talk about it is when you evaluate that kind of like 2.0, what do you want that look like? I was going to say this last night in the call. The better visualization is what does that minus 1.0 look like? If I visualize what I look like in 5 or 10 years time, doing the same shit as what I've done, that's a strong image to go, fuck, I don't want that. It's like, it's hard to achieve that. What does it like the success look like? Look what it doesn't look like. And like in that time, if you look at that back at that 16 weeks prior to where you're at now, what you're doing now is probably a big change.
Go on.
Sometimes you got to put the foundations in to even qualify to make progress.
Yeah.
And sometimes that takes 16 weeks, 6 months. It's like someone saying, I want to make $1 million, but they haven't even got a job yet. It's like, let's just get a job first. Put the foundations in. It might take you 6 months to get a job. All the application forms you got to fill in, etc.
Like when you fail, I was saying this, with like some job interviews, and it's like people go for job interviews and they fail one, and then they fail another, and then they fail another, and it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting my time?
100%.
And it's like, but the thing is with this stuff, you don't keep score. It's not like if you fail on your diet and your training 50 times, and then you crack the code, you've won. It's not like, but now it's 50-1, so I've still lost. Like, we're not keeping score here. You might have all these
You
weeks.
need to win once.
You win once, and now you've won.
That's why I keep playing the lottery. I'll win it one day, and then I'll be like, it was worth it. You would got to get one. That's a brilliant analogy, though. Like, if you're applying for those jobs, you're doing more than what you were doing before.
You're one interview
You're not
closer.
just going to wake up and get a job without applying.
And also,
so it's like, keep fucking applying.
And also, I bet that 50th application was better than the first one.
Exactly.
But because you didn't get the job, you think you're a failure. It's like, no, you've been putting the foundations in.
I bet your 10th female client you could talk to better than your first.
I got 7 words in without a stutter. But those 7 words are brilliant.
I spoke to her before 16 weeks.
But like Alex Hormozy says it, and he's like, how many times would I have to do something where it would be silly for me not to be great at it? And so it's like, how many days would you have to track your food till like it would be silly for you to not be the best at tracking your food? Like same with lifting weights, getting steps in, like all of these routines. It's like, what's a realistic amount of time? Because they say like 10,000 hours to be like, if you did this shit for 1,000 days, by day 1,000, you're going to be pretty good at all of it. Like, but you're probably going to fail 400 of those days, like cumulatively. And so it's like people jump in, and like we see it in the gym when we were coaching as well. You got some guys that day one, you give them a dumbbell to do a goblet squat, ace it. By the end of week 3, they're doing deadlifts with a bar and stuff. And then you got someone else that like you hold a dumbbell and they crumble, and you're like, cool, we're going to go sit on the leg press. Like, and then maybe in 4 weeks, we're going to be able to do a goblet squat, which is like the most regressed form of a squat pattern. But it's like, cool, like you need to go even further back before you even get to the start line. And so like a lot of these guys that are like on their journey, it's like the first 16 weeks, we're like sizing up your feet and getting the right running shoes before you can even go to the start line to start the ultra. But it's like, they just want to go in their fucking Crocs and be like, let's go. And it's like, you are going to get to mile 1 and die. Like, we're doing all of this stuff. So when like it finally does all click, it's so fast. It's like those like first like 16 weeks, it's like the hill just gets steeper and steeper pushing up the rock, and then you get over the top and you're like, oh, it's fucking easy now.
Snowballs.
But like people get there and they're like, nah, and then it rolls back down, then they start a different program, and then they go, nah, and then it's like they never get to that turning point, and sometimes it does take months, and so you have to just stick with it, and that's what turns people off when we say, we're going to start with a basic template, and they're like, no, well, like I've spoke to, this guy, he's going to give me a very specific eating regime with like all the times and foods and things, and I'm like, cool, see how long that lasts, like 3 days, and then you'll be fucking done. And so it's no one ever sticks to that stuff, but it's always like I was just gonna say, like the approach that we have in mind is like, not only how do we get epic results, but like how do you keep them forever if you want to. Like that's it. Like, so nothing that we do is so extreme that it's like, like you'll get shredded in 16 weeks and then you're going to be 40 pounds heavier in another 16. Because I'm going to push you so fucking hard, you're going to never want to do this stuff again. Like that's not the approach that we take.
No,
it's like getting results is one thing, keeping them off is an all different animal. So, and this is where like a lot of people, they'll jump from program to program, and they'll be like, I'd say they'd be doing it for like 10 years. They've lost the same 40 pounds every single year, right? And then it's like, even if they come to us, like, well, I'm going to get you in the best shape of your life in 2 years, and you're going to keep it off. It's a great return on your investment when you think about it. Isn't it? It's like, you've just been spending 10 years losing and gaining the same 40 pounds. And I'm saying you're going to lose that 40 pounds and keep it off for the rest of your life in 2 years. Like, sign me up.
It's just, again, it's when you compare that to social media, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 4 weeks,
it's not
7
quick
days.
enough. It's not good enough. It's not instant.
And it's, again, in those 8 weeks, you'll lose the 40 pounds, but you'll gain it back on the 9th week.
It's just a terrible return on
like
investment.
when has like get rich quick schemes ever worked? And it's like, I wish like people would just see all of these nutrition things as the get rich quick schemes. It's like, you will lose your money. Like you will come out worse off than when you went in. Like, but the idea of like, just put a bit of money in your S&P for 20 years, and then it'll be hopefully half decent. Then
Doesn't sound sexy, or does it?
It's like, put it in your pension.
What do we know about what sounds sexy?
Good point.
What sounds sexy? Put 3 bananas in the pension pot.
3 bananas, Mate, I'm just going to give the bunch to this man.
Like, I like seeing when clients get on board and like they've gone through these situations of yo-yos or extremes, and you see them on this like 20, 40 pounds, and they'll put it back on. And you'll always see them guys, they'll message you 2-3 weeks in, or could be 6 weeks, and they'll be like, God, I've never eaten this much food before. Or I struggle to eat this much food. And it's like, no, you're now getting to the right amount of food you should be eating. Because it's like they've either gone way restricted before to try and shift that. And like you said, that will always balloon back the other way. And it's just then the guys getting used to the volume of food and getting that in. But it's like, there's those little cues that we hear where it's just like, oh, you weren't doing this right before. With just stuff like that, where it's like, there we go. It's like, God, this doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. And you're just like,
I see that
that's where you've overtrained way too much before, and we've got you on a right level where now your recovery is better, so it's more sustainable. It's those little cues we hear where we go, we're on the right path.
It's almost like people think that it isn't working if they aren't suffering from like their previous experiences. It's like, especially with training, because I know you've had it before, haven't you? When people have said to you like, oh, this training is too easy, make it harder.
But again, because they've done the crazy P90X, whatever, like HIIT routines, where it's like, if you're not, in a pool of sweat by the end of it, then it's not doing anything. The amount of times I get guys say like, oh, these workouts are really short. And I'm like, but when now you're recovering properly, you're going to be able to put in way more effort and give it another week. Like, all of your lifts are going to go up. You're going to be one in that rest period. Like those 3 sets of squats are going to kill you in a couple of weeks. Whereas you don't have the skill set yet to go hard enough in those sets.
But sweat's fat crying, isn't it?
That's what
you got that tattooed on your chest.
It's across my back. It's across my traps.
On his lower back.
His tramp stamp.
Fat with a PH.
But again, it's that almost like, again, people come with the preconceptions or whatever it is, or what they think, like when they go, I eat healthy, it's like they may not know different. They think they're doing that. It's when they come to workout, it's I need to sweat as much as I can and be in that kind of like pain hole.
I'm exercising to burn fat. Like that's like a whole concept like, we don't use.
It's like I'm not on the floor, or my heart rate's not 180. This can't be working. It's not enough. It's like it is enough because now we're training the right sort of ranges. So it's
So I think, I mean, to sum it all up, in terms of individualized programming, if you're looking to individualize your own workouts and things, stop looking at like biomarkers and genetics and things like that. Like, look at your personality traits, look at your habits, look at your behaviors, look at what you like to do. Those are all of the things that you're going to use to actually individualize your program while following the fundamental principles, energy in, energy out, eat enough protein, do some cardio, lift some weights. Like, just, if you don't do anything that's crazy, it's really just then finding the thing that you enjoy doing or enjoy doing enough that you can stick to it long term. Yeah. And then just making small tweaks.
Yeah.
And then if you are looking for a coach, like, look at one you get on with, like, that you get on well with. Like, don't just look at what looks fancy. Like, have a chat with someone. I'm not even plugging us, just in general. Like, when you speak to a coach, like, just look at it and be like, would I like to talk to this person every week for the next year? If the answer is like, it's like, well, it's probably not going to work then. But if you hit it off on that first call or second call, then great. But I would look far more at that than the resume that a coach has, or like accreditations and things. It's like, is this person a dick or not?
Yeah. Unless you're a female, Dr. Taylor Waters is the man. He's an expert now.
His people skills have really come up.
Yeah,
so
really come up trumps.
Any women that want to work with Dr. Taylor Waters, sign up.
I've got a missus. What's going on here?
You didn't find her on a gym floor, did you? Because you couldn't talk to her.
Most swiped.
Swipe right. No, swipe left. It was swipe left.
No, it wasn't. No,
Swipe
it wasn't.
right.
You top 30 most swiped right on Tinder, wasn't it?
20. Oh, that was a few years back now.
2018?
Yeah.
What do they do? They asked you for a photo shoot in London.
Yeah, photo shoot.
His mug is on the photo shoot.
Oh, mate, you should have seen it as well.
That's top of his resume, by the way.
Mate, normal people would just go, photo shoot in a magazine. I'll scrub up. I literally didn't give a monkeys when I went up. Turned up and they literally went, have you got to change of clothes? I went, no, I'm wearing this. Mate, confidence down here. People turned up having their makeup done and stuff. I had when you had a shaved head, but it's slightly overgrown, so you look like the microphone.
like bristly.
Yeah, I had that bristly thing. I turned up and looking back, I'm like, I still don't care about my appearance that much now, but I was like, have a bit of pride. Have a bit of pride in what you look like.
Hey, still voted top Tinder swipe, wasn't it?
Oh, thank God I got Photoshop in it. 6'1". Do you know? One of the boys was trying out different things on Tinder, and he put in his thing, Royal Air Force pilot in his bio, and he put a photo, his main photo was a pilot in the plane, but with the helmet and the goggles on, as if he'd taken a selfie in the pilot to see if he'd get more traction. Right? Desperate times, desperate measures, isn't it?
I love it. Anyway, please don't listen to this channel for Tinder advice. No. But if you like the nutrition content and everything else we talk about, please subscribe and share on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. And we'll catch you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Matson, Superhuman CEO, reminding you to always go get what's yours.